Hi everybody, it's Jason here. I thought it would be a good idea to record my testimony. I've decided to use an audio recording just because it's much easier to upload and share in the various groups on Telegram. And also, if Team Bubba wants to use a recording, they can just put a picture up of me with the audio, and that would be easy to put together and edit if they want. Yeah, so I just wanted to, as quickly as I can, give my testimony, because right now this is when all the truth is coming out and a lot of people are starting to speak up and find their voice. And the more of us that do this, the better the result will be, basically. The more people that speak up, the harder it gets for her to pull the wool over people's eyes. Because in the community, everybody's happy to blame everybody else except for Kim. It's kind of convenient that it's okay to complain about anybody else. You won't get told off for doing that. But if you complain about Kim or you call her out in any way, then her diehard followers will tell you that that's wrong, that you shouldn't be doing that you need to look at yourself. And all these kind of new age kind of poor logic, really, because it's like, it's okay when I do it, but it's not okay when they do it, kind of thing. It's like Kim's allowed to call out bad actors and bad people in the world, but nobody's allowed to call her out, you know what I mean? And then people say things, well, she's not perfect, she's only human just like us, and so on. But there's just a lot of points here I'd like to make about this logic. And so anyway, going back to the beginning, I got involved about 3.5 years ago, somewhere around there, back when it was UNN, Lifeforce, and there was all these different assemblies around the world, and I got involved in the local assembly in my area. I wasn't officially a member, but I was basically sort of in the background, like IT support. I was helping with Zoom calls, audio recordings, helping people put together the field messenger reports for our local group. Was helping with that a little bit. But I was present during many live presentations of Kim's, and many recordings. I did also hear many of her recordings over the months. And at the very beginning, I was suspicious right from the beginning, but I gave her the benefit of the doubt because she had such an authoritative tone in her voice, even though a lot of the things she was saying was very unbelievable. I gave her that benefit because I just thought, well, how can somebody make this up and say it all with a straight face without laughing or without giving away that they're making it up, I didn't realize back then, what I realize now is that it's because she has a psychopathic personality, and she fits all of that, all those traits, the narcissist, that blame everybody else for everything that you're doing, all those classic traits of the narcissist, turning things around, flipping things 180, and never taking responsibility or blame for anything, or even any promises you made in the past, that kind of stuff. She always deflects and puts the blame on other people, and that's what her team does as well. And it's a bit of a coincidence, there's lots of strange coincidences that you have to believe in order to go along with the logic that she is actually the good one, and everybody else in her team that has ever called her out or ever questioned her, they're all wrong, or they're controlled opposition or something. And somehow Kim, with her amazing discernment, never spotted that at the beginning. Like you take Tank, for example. The first time I saw Tank, I just thought, who is this guy? He looks like a complete con man, sounds like a complete con man, talks like a complete con man. But then people still believed in him. Where's her discernment? Where's her... So there's so many things I could say, but, let's just pick a few out of the bag here. The quantum computer that she claims in an interview with Iceman only a few months ago, that with this computer that she designed and set up, which is ancient, but she somehow built it as well, that we've never seen a picture of or any evidence of ever, that nobody's ever seen a picture of or any evidence of whatsoever. Supposedly it can, according to Kim, from her own words, and I watched this live presentation, she said this computer has the ability to read everybody's minds and the intention of every human on this earth, including all the aliens as well, and every group on this earth, and know about every event before it's going to happen, and prevent events before they happen. So then you've got to ask yourself, what about COVID-19? Why didn't she stop that? Why didn't she warn people about that before it happened? Because I was there at the time, and she didn't warn anybody about that. She didn't stop that from happening. What about the Maui fires? What about the fires in Australia, the fires in California, the flooding in various parts of the world, the earthquakes, the flooding in Australia, flooding in New Zealand, all these Jew weapons, all these things? Why didn't she stop any of these things? That's just one example. But so anyway, I gave her the benefit of the doubt for a few months, and then it just wasn't adding up to me. I saw promises being made and nothing coming up, nothing showing up. Back like 3.5 years ago, she was pushing the funding thing really hard. That was coming directly from Kim. It wasn't from Tank, it wasn't from anybody else. It was her saying that funding was going to be available within a few months, and she was asking people in the teams to submit your proposals for humanitarian projects in your area, and also to submit forms in to the GIA to get people in your local country arrested for crimes against humanity, right? And when that was happening at the time, I was like, oh, well, it wouldn't hurt to send in a form, and just see what happens. Nobody who sent in a form got any response back from any person claiming to be from the GIA, like nobody. And then that whole story was just dropped, and there was no follow-up. And this is how Kim operates. She'll make all these grand statements, and then there's no follow-up, and then people start asking questions, and then somewhere down the track, months later, she'll come up with a quick couple of sentences as an excuse, and then she'll move on to the next thing. And some people will believe it, some won't. And then the people that wake up and go, hang on, this is not adding up, they get booted immediately with no explanation, no thank you for years of hard work, and she just restructures and changes the name of the group and then starts a new project. And this is what she does every 2 years or so, every 18 months or so, and this is what she's doing right now. Again, all this drama, it's just another deflection so that she can now restart. And now we have Thomas Melville, her head of the GIA, claiming that he has issued orders that chemtrails are to stop worldwide, and biological testing and vaccines and all wars. Apparently he can do that all by himself. He can just issue that order on behalf of the GIA, and then bingo, it's done. So 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, when do we expect to see the result from that? There's never been any results from any of these promises made in the last 6 years. From what people have been saying, there's just nothing. There's nothing. Isn't it a strange coincidence that the only time her and the GIA and that Legion of Angels and other people have actually stopped something, it's always something that's intangible, that we have no way of knowing if it really even happened. and it's only those events that get stopped completely, or say an event starts and they could just step in and stop it. That would be a good way to prove something, you know. So anyway, there's the whole stuff around the GIA, which is just a silly name, the Global Intelligence Agency. Obviously something that she dreamed up a while back. Well, we have the CIA, so why don't we call it the Global Intelligence Agency? That would be cool. You know, nobody has ever heard of the GIA. There's no paperwork. There's nothing on the internet. There's no even rumors. And all the conspiracy websites on the internet in the last 30 years of the internet, I have never heard of the GIA once. I ran a conspiracy radio show in the 2000s for several years, and I covered every subject under the sun. And I had friends who also ran their own radio shows, and they covered every subject under the sun. Like, you name it, you know. The GIA never came up as a thing anywhere, not as a rumor, not as anything. And we're supposed to believe that this GIA that she dreamed up in the last couple of years, who funds that? Where's the money from? How many? She says there are thousands of people employed, that she has at her command thousands of agents. So why? Okay, so Team Bubba, she said like years ago that she had filed reports with the FBI to arrest Team Bubba and to get a full investigation into Team Bubba. Why don't she just give all that evidence? Why don't she says she has all this evidence of them running pedo rings out of the Ukraine or wherever, and that she has all this evidence. You know, I don't know, screenshots, documents, because she's got the quantum computer. With that quantum computer, she could see everything they're up to. And she's got all that evidence. Why doesn't she give that evidence to the GIA that she runs? You know, just think about it. Okay, there's probably 50 other things I could record in this to, you know, other red flags that we could use here to point out that she is complete, total fraud. But we only really need to use this one point. If Team Bubba, she keeps bringing them up and saying, that they're, you know, a thorn in her side and all that kind of stuff, and that they're spreading lies and all this kind of thing, and they work for the the MI6 and FBI and stuff like that, and also apparently I'm also a member of that. I'm also apparently, because I had a conversation with Kim end of last year on Telegram. I had 2 long conversations with her over a couple of days, and one of those conversations was recorded, was put up on Team Bubba's YouTube group. But anyway, why doesn't she just hand over the evidence? Why doesn't she show us some of the evidence? Her followers, well, the real followers, and the people that are observing. Why doesn't she just show us some of the evidence? Why doesn't she just give the evidence over to the GIA, get some of her GIA people to go and arrest Team Bubba? And just, if the GIA can stop global events from happening, the GIA is capable of stopping nuclear suitcase bombs in various countries. They can do that. Surely they can arrest a couple of people in the UK who have a small, tiny YouTube channel. You know, it's just so silly. Like, and her excuse that, an economic, every time she has tried to, this is a claim, every time she has tried to send money, like she is in control of billions and trillions of dollars worldwide. She controls the worldwide financial system, and leaders of the world, the real leaders behind the scenes that we're not even allowed to know about, according to Kim, they have to ask her, according to Kim, they have to ask her for funds. They have to apply to her to get funding for projects, and she says, I'm not giving them the money. So if you're able to move that, you've got that kind of money at your command, how can you not even give $5 Like, how can you not even cover one humanitarian project out of the hundreds of projects that were submitted to you over the last 3 to 4 years? I mean, it's just mind-boggling, the logic that you have to suspend your disbelief. You have to suspend all logical, rational thinking to go along with her stories. Like, there was one time, a couple of years ago, that one member of one of her teams had some cancer treatments that he wanted. He needed funding for, because he didn't have health insurance. And on one of the streams, Kim said, we've got this member of our team who's blah, blah, blah. We'd like some donations. It'd be great if some people could donate some money to help this guy with his cancer treatment. But you're in charge of trillions of dollars worldwide, and you can't help one guy? And what about all the med beds? You keep talking, over the years, you keep talking about these med beds that are coming soon. Just like the white hats, the same old story, just like the white hats. The med beds are just around the corner. They're going to be available really soon. Yet, why aren't we using them? Like, why aren't you making them available? It's like, you either have them, you either have access to these med beds, or you don't. Why are you using UNN funds, according to Ava, who you accused of the same thing that you were guilty of? Ava called you out and said that you were using UNN funds to fund your own plastic surgery and Botox treatments and beauty treatments. And then you turned around and claimed that it was Ava that was using UNN funds for that purpose, which is just ridiculous. I mean, you listen to Ava, you can tell that she's the sweetest, nicest person out there. She's not a narcissist. She's not a psychopath. She has a conscience. She has real emotions. Like, it's so obvious when you really look at this. There's no money. There's no funds. She's not the Grand Commander of anything. There's nothing there. There's never been any proof of anything in years. So there's just nothing to. She doesn't have a leg to stand on. It's all just words. But then it comes back to my point. When you're a psychopath and when you have a psychopathic personality and you don't have any conscience about what you're doing, you can lie. It's so easy to lie. You can lie just as easily as people breathe. And you can talk for 3 hours straight, just a mixture of information you have heard on the internet and your own spin on things, and you can say it with authority like it's real, because you have no guilty conscience. When you have no moral compass, it's really easy to lie to people. And that's what successful con men out there, there are a lot of successful con men and con women out there in this world. A lot of them out there. A lot of them in the New Age arena as well. But all over the world, there is all kinds of con people, confidence tricksters out there. And the successful ones, you'll notice they have no moral compass. They have no problem lying to people. And this is what she does. She's exactly like that. And she will drop people out of her teams without a thank you, without any excuse or explanation. Just cut people out. And then she'll blame other people. Say, oh no, that was Lisa, or that was Tank, or that was someone else who did that. I had no idea. That's not true. Like, this will come out when the recordings come out. People will start to see the evidence for themselves. And of course, she will claim that they're deep fakes or whatever. She will always have an excuse. And that's the other thing I notice with the die-hard supporters of Kim. You can write a whole list of red flags and things like, what about this? What about that? What about, and those people will just come back to you and say, but Kim said this. So there it is, And it doesn't matter what Kim said, as long as she said something, they're happy. They're happy with that. It doesn't matter if the excuse makes sense or is logical or not logical. As long as there is something they can say, but Kim said this. And it's kind of like the logic of, say you're say you're an honest police unit and you're investigating a murder and your prime suspect, you have a prime suspect in that murder. And then people go, oh, are you going to arrest? And there's a stack of evidence against that person. And then the public says to the police, well, are you going to arrest this person? And the police say, well, he said he didn't do it. And every time we've questioned him, he's got an excuse for everything, even though we've no way of corroborating any of these excuses. But hey, said he didn't do it, so, that's good enough for us. I mean, that's the kind of logic we've got here. We're trying to call out a known scammer who has produced nothing in years that can be proven by anything, and is behaving like what she is. And when she's called out, we get told that we are wrong for doing that. But at the same time, we're told there is no right and wrong. And it's okay for people to lie to you. It's okay for people, because you've just got to use your discernment. That's all. And that's this whole New Age programming. There is a really strong New Age programming that's been going on for years now around this idea of all the bad people in the world are just helping us to wake up, and all the bad people in the world are really making a good, positive difference in the world, because they're helping us to learn discernment. Well, we've learned discernment, and we're calling out Kim, and then you're telling us that we're wrong for doing that? The logic doesn't make sense. Either, like, it's like this New Age concept of, say there's a lady across the street, she's getting mugged by this man. He's bigger and stronger than her, and he's got a knife. And the New Ager on the other side of the road, rather than calling out or calling the police or grabbing somebody else to walk across the road and stop what's happening, that New Ager just goes, look, no, that's just her karma. And then they just carry on. They look down and they just keep walking, because they're like, well, that's just her karma, you see. And that's the kind of logic that we have now in the New Age movement. There's no right or wrong. It's all just karma. But see, that doesn't make logical sense either, because we have free will. We have free will in this reality. Either we do or we don't. If we don't have free will, then there's no karma, because you can't create karma unless you've got free will, you see. So you can't just say everything is about karma. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. We have the choice to call out bullshit when we see it right in front of us, when we experience it for ourselves. If you're somebody who has witnessed personally, firsthand, Kim lying and Kim deceiving and Kim behaving really badly and being really nasty, you have an absolute right to call that out. But there are people that will excuse that and say, oh no, that's just Kim, she's not perfect, but she's just what we need, to get the job done. And this is the same logic that has caused all the problems that we have in this world right now. All comes down to that same logic. Because all of the leaders in the political arena, in the business arena, in the military, they're all sharks. They're all people that have pushed their way to the top because they're full of ego and arrogance. But we're taught through the media that these are the people that can get the job done. They have to make the hard decisions, so they have to be tough. They have to be mean. They have to be tough to make the hard decisions. But that's that kind of logic. Instead of getting people who are wise and full of wisdom and kind-hearted to be the leaders of this world and make the decisions that will actually create peace, we allow these sharks and psychopaths to move to the top of the ladder. You see what I'm saying here? This is the same with Kim. It's the same thing. We don't need tough, ruthless sharks to lead or run the world. Those are just the people that step up and take those roles because they want to be seen, they want to be adored, they want to be in the limelight. They've got huge egos. They're full of arrogance. Kim has got such a massive ego. She's so full of arrogance. If you ever actually talk to her directly, she is so childish. And it becomes very clear to you that she has no conscience or moral compass. It's all just words. It's just the gift of the gab and a lot of bullshit. So yeah, I could probably run through like 40 or 50 other red flags about why there's no reason to believe in anything she says. Yes, she has people that advise her. You know, she has psychics that she uses to receive messages, and I think she trusts those psychics, and I think she thinks that the information that she's getting from those channels could be reliable, and then that also means that other people who listen think, oh, well, she's putting out good information because some of the stuff sounds like it adds up and it's reliable. But it's not coming from Kim. It's just through the people that she's using. You understand? She's not even a spiritually minded person, so to say. As from what we hear, from what I'm hearing from behind the scenes, from people that have direct contact with her on a regular basis, she smokes a couple of packs of cigarettes a day, she drinks bottles of wine and hard liquor, and swears and says the F word constantly, almost in every sentence. She is grumpy, difficult to deal with. She's got no compassion at all. It's all fake. It's all fake. This is all about making money. It's all about, well, not just about making money. It's all about being adored and being the center of attention, because that's what a narcissist wants. They want to be the center of the attention, and psychopaths as well. And they don't care whose feelings get hurt along the way. And they'll have that. And because they don't have any moral compass, like I already said, they can have that air of authority in their voice, and they can sound very believable because they don't give a shit about you. Because they don't have any guilt whatsoever for what they're saying, or because they backtrack on some promise, or because something doesn't transpire. She has never said sorry in all the years I've been listening and observing. She has never apologized for anything, and she's always blamed other people in her teams for every single thing that has not transpired. She always deflects and puts the blame on somebody else. She never owns up and just says, hey, I'm sorry. I thought I could deliver on this, but, you know, there's never any genuine compassion there when you really, like, zoom out and look at this. And this is what I'm trying to get this point across to the hard followers, to the die-hard followers. I'm trying to get this point across, but of course, everybody in their own time will work it out for yourselves, and nobody can force you to wake up to the facts. I mean, I am 100% convinced that she has no conscience. She's a narcissist. She is a compulsive liar and all these things. So it's easy for me to say what I'm saying, but I totally understand there are people out there that still absolutely believe in her and may have believed in her for years, and there'll be a lot of new people that are only known about her for a few months, and they think, oh my god, this is amazing, she's wonderful, she calls out Trump, so she must be onto it. Because people who have woken up to the white hat scam often fall for Kim because Kim calls out the white hats. This is, sometimes she does and then sometimes she doesn't. You know, it's a bit weird. Like, she kind of promoted Trump way back at the beginning, even though she should have known with her discernment that he was owned from the beginning, bailed out by the Rothschilds for $500 million back in the 90s and all that kind of stuff. She has a lot of information. She knows a lot of stuff. She does. She's able to talk. She has a gift of the gab. She can talk for hours. And that's the other thing, is she kind of puts people into a bit of a trance as well. She has that authoritative voice from being able to lie so easily, like any good con person does. But she can also just keep talking and talking. And I remember back in the day when someone would come to me, I just listened to Kim's latest update and it was amazing. It's going to be so good. In a couple of months this is going to happen and this is going to happen and the whole world's going to know, and chemtrails are going to be stopped by Tuesday next week as commanded by the commander, blah blah blah. And I'd say, that's great. And then they would say, and she said this and this and this, and I'd say, well, and then I would say, well, what did she actually say that backs up any of her claims, or what proof does she has behind anything, and or what actually was the gist of her talk for the last 3 hours? And then most of the time people would say, well, I don't really know, it kind of went over my head. This is what the comments I would get from people many times as well. It sounded good, it sounded like she really knew what she was talking about, but I don't really understand what she meant. It was just kind of went over my head. And that's the problem, is that she just keeps talking for so long. It's called baffling with bullshit. It's another technique of a classic con person. It's just to say so much with authoritative voice that people just assume you know what you're talking about. But then they don't even know what you actually said at the end of the day, apart from maybe a few buzzwords. And so that was the last point I wanted to make, is it's a bit of a coincidence that nothing tangible has ever been proven from any of the claims that her and the GIA have actually accomplished. Just a coincidence. And also a coincidence that none of the humanitarian projects or funding, out of all the different ideas and projects and websites and proposals over the last 4, 5, 6 years that I've heard about and also was part of, none of it ever got approved or funded. Not even $5. Not even $5. You know what I mean? She's happy to take $5 a month from people for subscriptions. She's happy to take people. She can't even. She's in charge of trillions of dollars worldwide. Okay? She is in charge of trillions of dollars worldwide. But she can't even give $5 to somebody who needs it. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm just one person. I have a group of friends in Uganda that I fund. I have a part-time job and I send them money every week, and I cover their medical costs and their rent and their food, and I'm able to support an orphanage of 25 children and a bunch of adults. Single-handedly, that's a solution there. There's a solution right there. I'm making a difference in the world. I'm changing the lives of some people. Real, tangible evidence. I have video evidence. I have photographic evidence. I have bought them rainwater tanks for the orphanage, and I can see in a live video that tank collecting water, providing good, clean drinking water to all of those people in that community. Kim has never done anything in all these years. Nothing. There are field messenger reports where people go to a farmer's market and film a farmer's market and go, look at this lovely farmer's market in our area. Isn't this wonderful? That's all you get from the field messenger reports. We have so-and-so from such and such a country, and they've gone to such and such a thing, an event. Isn't that lovely? And that's it. There's nothing. Not even $5 going to anybody, anywhere, from Kim in all these years. Do you see my point here? She's not got anything off the ground. She's in charge of the entire world's financial system, the GIA, this Legion of Angels, all stuff. She cannot even get one small community project off the ground for a few $100 or $10,000 or $50,000 or $100,000. Okay, can people comprehend that? I hope this recording is good enough and that it's worth people listening to right to the end, just to get this point across. It is so ridiculous that she can come up with all these excuses why not one single dollar from her organization has ever gone to anything to help anybody in all these years. Nothing. No thank yous, no photos of people with medical supplies, no photos of people with food in their sacks of rice or potatoes or whatever in some place where they need it. What about all the people in Hawaii? Kim claimed months back that she was going to fund, that her organization was going to go there and help everybody to restore their communities and rebuild their houses. She said that. Kim said that. Nothing has happened. Right now, those people are losing their houses. The banks are foreclosing. The insurance companies are not paying out. Those communities are being stripped and rebuilt by developers, and those people are being kicked off their land. That's what's happening in Hawaii right now. And Kim said she was going to fix all that and sort it out. Okay? It's not happening. It's not happening. We're still waiting for one photograph, for one scrap of proof of anything. Am I getting through to you here? I had a conversation with Kim end of last year, around November 2023. And I said, could you just take a photograph of the quantum computer that you claim, this ancient quantum computer that you claim you have? Use your cell phone, just take a photograph of it, send it to me. If you don't want to send it to me, send it to your loyal followers, the ones that trust you and believe in you. Show them the photo if you don't want to show it to me. It was just excuse after excuse. I don't need to show you anything. I don't need to prove anything to you. Blah, 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 blah. But I wasn't the only person asking her that. Every time anyone has ever asked her for proof, she deletes that person or gets somebody in her organization. She tells the people in the organization, if anybody asks any difficult questions, get rid of them. That's her modus operandi. That's how she operates. Okay, so this is 38 minutes long. I don't know whether this will end up as a video or not. It might get edited, cut down a bit, because I've repeated myself a lot of times. But anyway, this audio can be easily shared around Telegram. So I hope this is useful to people to sort of just get some perspective on the sheer ridiculousness of her story, her claims, all the things that she's promised over the years that have not transpired, the claims of things that she has stopped, which there is no evidence for, and all the things that have happened that she hasn't stopped and has given no explanation for why she didn't stop those things from happening, even though she has the ability and power to do it, according to her. And all these excuses from her loyal followers. Oh, she's not really the guardian of the world, she's just the guardian of us. No, she says that she's the grand commander of the earth, of the planet. And that world leaders, she has meetings with world leaders and the Council of Nine, all these other people. She has meetings with those people, one-on-one. Okay? There's no evidence of it. There's no photographic evidence. There's no video evidence of meeting with anybody, anywhere, anytime, ever of significance. She's met with Trump. She's met with Biden. She's met with all these people. And then this is one other point I wanted to make. The UNN news reports. They're so pointless. She just runs over world news, stuff that everybody already knows about. It's just regurgitated world news. Oh, Biden made a fool of himself this week. Ho, ho, ho. You know, like, nobody cares about Biden. No one gives a shit. We know he's just a puppet. We know he's nothing. He's nobody of any significance. Kim tells us that the world leaders are people that we don't know behind the scenes that she meets with. So why does she waste her news reports showing us people like Biden and going, oh, look at this person, isn't he an idiot? And stuff like that. Like, it's just the news itself is kind of pointless, childish stuff. And then she has her situation reports where it's just like whole bunch of just out there woo-woo. I mean, I grew up in the New Age. I've been a New Ager for many years in some ways. It's just all repeated stuff from other people and woo-woo and crap, honestly. Anyway, that'll cover it. Cheers.